Well, hello everyone, how are you doing this fine day? Hope you're enjoying your week. Welcome to another survival challenge, in particular, a Warframe survival challenge. More in particular, a sentient survival challenge. That's right, we're getting our way all the way through all the crazy Warframe factions and characters. Because you guys seem to be enjoying that, so, you know, why not? For people who've never been to my channel before, the way this works is that I take a particular scenario, character, whatever. In this case, it's the Sentients from Warframe, and then I put a bunch of other characters, factions, whatever, against them to see what might happen. It won't necessarily turn into a fight. There could be alliances, romances, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Just however I think these characters, factions, situations, whatever, will react to one another. However, because this is a pseudo-evil alien faction, it's probably going to be just like a war. But I've wasted enough of your time. Let's get started. Okay, so to tell you a little bit about the Sentients for people who don't know, a long time ago, like before the start of the Warframe series, there was a species called the Orokin. I've talked about the Orokin a lot. I probably should make a video on them at some point, because every time I bring them up, I just roast the fuck out of them because they're fucking retarded. But basically, their whole thing is that they're this super advanced species, more advanced than anyone in the current story, and literally every single idea they have blow up their face and fuck up the origin system. The origin system being our solar system, like Earth and Mars and Mercury and all those. Yeah, that's where they live. They fucked it up. And they fucked it up to such an extent that they had the idea that they should go to another system and just basically bail on this one. They're like, well, fuck it, it's too far gone. Let's go find another system and go there, and then we'll just start over. The nearest system they found that could support life, or that could support life the easiest, I suppose, because it wasn't really ready for life, was the Tau system. So they got a ship, filled it up with people, launched it out to the Tau system. Shit just got fucking destroyed. Never made it. Just one more thing to add to the list of Orokin failures. So eventually one Orokin was like, you know what? I have an idea. Let's make a bunch of highly advanced AI-controlled robots that can adapt to any situation, and we'll send them out there, and they can terraform the entire system as well as build like this junction, which that's not like the canonical word. There's another word for it. I'm just gonna go with junction. Basically in the game, ships can't travel faster than light unless they go through these 2 points. They're like giant space stations, and the ship travels through it almost like a Mass Effect relay, kind of. And this launches them across large distances faster than light. So they wanted to build one in the Tau system and then one in the Origin system, so they can then easily travel between the Origin system and Tau, which is something they can't do without it. So they were going to send these robots over there. They were going to build the other side of the junction, and then they were going to terraform all the planets and prepare it for the Orokin's arrival. After this one guy gave this idea, all of the Orokin were like, this is a really bad idea. What if they turn on us? You know, we're controlling them with AI. AI can go bad if they become self-aware and sentient. They could possibly come back and go to war with us, try to kill us all. We're giving them the ability to adapt to literally anything. This is going to be a problem. And the guy was like, no, I can solve this problem. What we're going to do is make these junctions powered by void energy, and I'm going to design within these robots a weakness to void energy. This means that even if they do go bad, they won't be able to come back to fuck us up, and they'll just be stuck over there in this other system. So we'll be good. And the rest of the Orokin all stood and applauded together at this amazing idea that is so obviously going to blow up in their fucking face. I am not a genius sci-fi character, okay? I can't build faster than light technology, but even I can come to the obvious conclusion that the super adapting, highly intelligent terraforming species that you're launching to the other side of the solar system is going to eventually become a fucking problem. And big fucking shocker, it did. After who knows how long of them terraforming the planets, these robots did eventually become sentient and decided to call themselves the Sentients. Being sentient does not mean you're creative. They then used their newly found logic to come to the determination that Orokins are fucking retarded. Welcome to the club, Sentients. Better late than never, I guess. They basically realized that the Orokins fucked up the entire origin system, and that they are fixing this new system for them to come and then also fuck up this new system. So it's like, why would we just hand over this system that we did all the work to fix up and make nice, just so you can come in and fucking destroy it because you're dumbasses? Like, even you making us and sending us here was a dumb fucking decision. You're clearly not showing any character growth or that you're learning from your mistakes. You know what the Orokin remind me of? Remember that SNL skit where they did like the Greek gods, and Greece had a financial collapse and all the Greek gods were like, oh shit, we fucked up the economy. Let's get fucking Germany or whatever to bail us out, and we're not going to change our behaviors at all. We're just going to keep doing that. And it was like, it kind of had them all have this sort of like party culture where they just did whatever kind of. That's what the Orokin remind me of. The fucking Greek gods from an SNL skit. Anyway, eventually the Sentients figured out a way to travel from the Tau system back to the origin system without fucking dying from the void energies. Now, it did affect them, as it made them sterile and now they can't reproduce, but then they just figured out a different way to reproduce through fragmentation. So, like, it's not even that bad. We're gonna go kill our enemies to get a new system for our people, and we don't have to wear condoms? That's a fucking win-win, man. And a lot more stuff happened, but basically we're in a constant war with the Sentients as they're trying to come come and slaughter all the people in the Orokin system to stop them from taking over the Tau system. I think they could probably do this in a better way. Like, they don't have to slaughter them all. Like, the Orokins are basically all wiped out at this point. And honestly, I think if the Sentients approached the Tenno and made like a deal where they could like trade back and forth, and the Sentients can help the Origin system regain control of its system and sort of bring it back from the brink, and then they can, you know, benefit from each other. That seems like that would be the smartest way to go, but characters in this series don't make smart decisions. I think we firmly established that. So how would these characters slash factions slash world, again, I don't actually know who's going to be in this video yet, going to deal with these characters invading them kind of the same way they did with the Origin system? In terms of what they're actually capable of doing, like in terms of an actual war or combat situation, there isn't a lot here, but what is here is really, really good. As I've already said, they have really, really good adaptation abilities, basically meaning if you cut them with a sword, the next time you try and cut them with a sword, it's going to be way harder to cut them with that sword, and this happens for basically every single type of damage you could possibly do to them, with the exception of Void, which was specifically built into their body to not be able to resist. Anything that wasn't specifically built in, they resist really, really well given enough time. They also have some of the most advanced technology in the entirety of the Warframe universe, second only to probably the Orokin themselves, and this comes in the form of many, 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 many different types of guns with various different crazy abilities and usages. They have plasma weapons and lightning weapons and laser weapons and explosive bolt weapons and weapons that can sap health from other enemies, and weapons that have this charge up time, and then when the charge up time reaches maximum, it releases a bunch of these sort of spherical energy balls that hunt down people and explode when they hit them, and there's all different kinds of crazy stuff. I'm not going to go over every single weapon the Sentients have, but just know it's considerable. Outside of that, they have all of the other same shit that everybody else has. They have viral damage and toxic damage and heat damage, and if you played the game, you know all the crazy damage types. I've gone over them in previous videos. The last thing they have that I'm going to talk about that I think too many people ignore is the fact that they're, I believe, the only faction other than the Tenno that have access to Oro. Oro isn't really greatly explained within the Warframe universe, which is probably why people don't bring it up all that much, but it is stated to be the thing that gives Tenno their immortality. The reason why they can't die, or that they're so incredibly hard to have die, is because they have Oro. The Sentients were built with this exact same thing. Is it an energy source or a kind of like special technological form of a soul? We're not really 100% sure, but it does mean that when you kill them, they can come back to life, very much so like the Tenno can. So basically what the Sentients are a constantly adapting machine, possibly slightly biological race of synthetic beings who has extremely advanced technology, can potentially resist literally any damage type, and even if you do wind up killing them, they can just come back from the fucking dead. So it's going to be a lot of fun trying to come up with characters that can actually fight these motherfuckers. Now, before we actually get started with who they will be fighting, there are some caveats here that I need to discuss. For one, we do need to make a couple of corrections about their resistances and how it works. For people who have been on my channel for a long time, they know that this is actually the second time I've talked about the Sentients, and last time I talked about the Sentients, there were quite a few people who were disagreeing with certain things. Certain things I think they were justified in disagreeing on, other things they were not. One of the things I don't think that they were justified with, which will make the Sentients stronger, but the Warframe universe as a whole a lot weaker, is how Void works. People have told me in the past that Void can be used to strip people of their resistances, just out the gate. I read this comment many times in my video, more recently, my Excalibur video, where people said if Excalibur fought against Eve, he would be able to undo all of her adapted resistances because that's something that the Void can do. I argued in that video that that's not the case because the Void only takes away resistances from the Sentients and is not shown being able to remove resistances from beings like the Grineer or the Corpus or literally anyone who's not the Sentients. At the time, I didn't really understand why. I just said maybe it has something to do with innate resistances compared to like adapted resistances. But now I know for sure the reason why the Void affects the Sentients in such a way is because they were specifically programmed to be weak against it. The Void will not just strip any one of their resistances, it specifically works on the Sentients. For obvious reasons, this is bad for Warframe as a whole as it weakens the Void and how strong Void damage can be, but it does strengthen the Sentients because it means the Sentients are not naturally weak to certain things, they are specifically weak to something that they were specifically programmed to be weak to. So it's not an example of a hard limitation to the resistance the Sentients have, but instead a very specific pinpointed weakness that they were designed to have from the beginning. So even if I found something that was kind of similar to the Void, I wouldn't necessarily be able to say that the Sentients can't resist that thing simply because it's similar to the Void, because it's not the Void, and they weren't programmed to resist things that were similar to the Void, they were programmed to not resist the Void itself. And that's an important distinction to make. The second thing we need to talk about the resistances is a lot of people argue with me that they have the ability to resist everything 100% across the board, and that their ability to only resist things 75% or whatever in gameplay is just a gameplay mechanic. After exploring the lore a little more and looking into it, I agree that the way that they resist things in gameplay is indeed a gameplay mechanic. However, I completely disagree that they can 100 resist everything and it's that simple. It seems like the general consensus in the comment section was that the Warframe are the only people who are capable of fighting against the Sentients because they use Void, and only Void can do any harm to the Sentients. This isn't accurate. While it's true that the Warframes were the best at fighting against the Sentients, and they were the best hope of defeating the Sentients, the Grineer and Corpus have fought against the Sentients in the past and have been able to kill them. This is important to note because the Grineer and the Corpus do not have access to any Void damage at all. They don't use it. Now, maybe you can argue that during the old war, the Grineer had access to Void weapons because we see the Orkin possessed version of the Grineer do sometimes use Void weapons, but even in that case, that's extremely rare, and to jump to the conclusion that all Grineer constantly use Void weapons, there's really no evidence of that. And the Grineer, even today, who don't have Void weapons, are shown fighting against the Sentients, and while they can't beat them or overcome them, they are capable of killing them during those battles, and again, they don't have Void weapons. This would not be possible if the Sentients adaptation abilities worked the way that fans believe it worked. The way they tell it to me is that it's just straight up not possible to kill them with anything but Void because they literally instantly adapt to all of it. How are the Grineer capable of killing them if that's the case? I do think that they have a very, very good adaptation ability, but there's very clearly some form of limitation to it. Whether them just getting a high resistance, but you being able to break that resistance with enough force, or that adaptation working very, very slowly over the course of a long period of time and not just being an instant adaptation that happens over the course of one fight. Most likely, both of those two things are possible, especially considering that it has been stated that the old war got harder and harder with the Sentients the longer the war went on. This would hint at the likelihood that the Sentients were slowly adapting over the course of the war, as opposed to just in one battle instantly adapting to everything that was being done to them. So I would say that in ways the Sentients are stronger than I believe they were, but in other ways they're weaker than you guys believe they were. Overall, they're still a fucking broken faction, and I'm gonna prove it right now. Hey guys, how y'all doing? Sorry for the interruption. I am currently editing the video, but there is a small thing that I realized I forgot to talk about when I was actually recording, and that is the Sentients hacking abilities. They actually have really, really impressive wireless hacking abilities. They're shown being able to hack into ships and basically just straight up shut down all of their enemies' technology. They're even capable of hacking into machines that have souls. It's very, very good. The reason why I didn't bring it up in this section, and I'm not going to be bringing it up for the rest of the video, is, yes, because I forgot, but the reason why I forgot is because it's really not that relevant, and that's mainly due to the fact that the Imperium of Man and Helldivers have extremely low level tech. Like the Helldivers, basically all of their technology is analog. They have to physically go in and do everything by hand. They don't really have a whole lot of stuff that can be controlled wirelessly. Like in Helldivers, when you call down a stratagem, it's not like an automatic thing. Someone is actually putting a fucking shell into a cannon and firing the cannon down to you. The reason why basically every single thing you want to do, you have to go down to the planet and actually do it physically by hand is, well, because of this. Like if you go do one of the missions where you have to launch a nuke, you have to actually go into the computer and like put in the code, and the code is actually written on a fucking notebook thing that you have to find, and it's just written. It's not like on a computer anywhere. And then you have to manually type it all in and get it all ready. And then if you want to open the door for the nuclear launch, you have to physically go and turn the latches to open the door. None of it's automated. The only thing that the Sentients would really even be able to control is arguably the guard dog and the turrets, because those are automated, but they can't be controlled wirelessly. This is why you keep getting fucking shot by them. They're just sort of programmed to scan the area and shoot things randomly. There's no wireless connection to control, so I don't think the Sentients will be able to really control it. But even if they could, those are literally the only two things they would be able to control. And kind of the same thing goes with the Imperium. As for the other two factions, the hacking's not going to be useful at all. The Naytiba don't have technology at all. They're just a completely biological race. They don't use technology, and the demons, all of their technology is powered by magic, and it's not actually technology, at least not in the way that we would think is technology. There's nothing automated, there's no AI running all their shit. It's literally just demon magic fueling everything, and there's no evidence that the Sentients would be able to control something like that. So no, I will not be bringing up the hacking for the rest of this video, but even if I did, it's not going to change the outcome of any of these wars, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you disagree with me about it and you think it actually would be really useful against the demons or Naytiba or whatever, you know, comment down below and let me know, but I I didn't really see how it would be. So yeah, sorry about that. Okay, back to the video. First up on the chopping block, we have the Imperium of Man from Warhammer 40k. That's right, motherfucker, I'm not done serving this humble pie yet. Okay, so to be fair, I am noticing that these videos are using a lot of the same factions over and over again. There's like the same, I don't know, 15, 20 factions. So it might be time for me to widen my horizons when it comes to sci-fi factions, but I didn't do that yet. So here we are. So for people who saw literally my last video, you would know the Imperium of Man are gonna fucking lose. I spent a large portion of that video comparing Space Marines to the Grineer, basically coming to the conclusion that even the absolute weakest Grineer are physically superior to the Space Marines. And given that the Sentients are superior to the Grineer, I mean, you fucking connect the dots. Put on top of that the fact that Sentients have better technology and their adaptation ability, it just makes it very, very clear that the Imperium doesn't really stand much of a chance. The Imperium doesn't really have that many different damage types. Like, they have different weapon types, but most of their weapons do the same damage. If the Sentients adapt to slash, piercing, puncture, heats, and explosive damage, they've covered like 95% of what the Imperium can do. So right out the gate, before we even talk about tactics, technology, or any of that, you have a physically superior army who will adapt to basically everything that the Imperium can do. I mean, I could sit here for 20 minutes and just badmouth the Imperium. Like how Warhammer might be the only gaming sci-fi universe in all of fiction that has worse space travel than Warframe. Like, that's an impressive feat to have a worse space traveling than Warframe. They literally can't travel between two planets in the same solar system in a reasonable amount of time. They need to use a junction to do it. In order to make that junction, they have to be able to send somebody from one planet to another planet at speeds significantly slower than light speed, and oftentimes that takes longer than a full person's lifespan. This is why the entire Warframe universe takes place just in the Origin system and they haven't gone over to other systems, because they literally can't survive the trip there. Warhammer has a similar situation where all their ships are slow as piss, but at least they have the warp that can travel. However, the warp isn't very reliable, whereas the junctions can almost immediately bring you from point A to point B. The warp is just completely unpredictable. If you try to travel using the warp, you could arrive instantly, or you can arrive 6 months from now, or you can arrive 6 months in the past. It's fucking random. It makes it impossible to get to where you need to be when you need to be there. It is one of the worst travel methods in sci-fi fiction. Only comparable one I could think of is Rayman, where he literally punches dudes across the galaxy. It's pretty fucking bad, man. The only actual good shit the Imperium has that might be a challenge to the Sentinels is, one, they're insane numbers, because the Sentinels don't come anywhere near the numbers of the Imperium. That's a fact. But when you have one single bitch Sentinel who's physically powerful enough to take on thousands of guardsmen, does that even fucking matter? And the strongest of Sentinels should be able to take on entire Space Marine chapters on their own. Even if somehow the Imperial Man can kill the Sentinels, the fact that they're all built with Oro means they'll come back to fucking life. Like, the Imperium can't even exterminatus the planet that the Sentients are on. I mean, they can, but all the Sentients will survive because, again, you have the Oro. And it wouldn't even permanently fuck up the planet they're on because the Sentients are a bunch of terraforming machines. They can just fix it and put it all back to normal. And they don't really have a viable way around this. The closest thing I could think of is possibly a Psyker might be able to control the Oro in some way. Maybe there's some kind of connect, because the Oro is sort of like an energy source that's also like a synthetic soul, sort of. Like I said, it's not that well defined in the series, so maybe the Psyker might be able to do something about it. But the problem with that is that the Imperium doesn't have that many Psykers, and the Psykers they do have they think is blasphemy to use, and generally just sacrifice them by the tens of thousands every day. And yeah, before you say I'm full of shit by saying the Imperium doesn't have that many Psykers, I'm saying comparatively to the rest of their army. I am aware that they sacrifice 10,000 Psykers a day on Terra. I get that. But that's not a lot when you're talking about literally trillions upon trillions of people, which is the number of Psykers they would have to reasonably take on the Sentients. If you sacrifice 10,000 Psykers a day, it would take 273,000 years before you sacrificed 1 trillion Psykers. Sacrificing 10,000 a day does not prove they have trillions or quadrillions or the numbers that would be necessary. Those are bitch baby numbers when you're talking about galactic wars. So yeah, all in all, the Imperium just straight up can't win against the Sentients. There's literally nothing that they can do. I mean, shit, these guys won't even utilize the more advanced technology that the Sentients have because they consider it like blasphemy, like it's a religious thing. They won't evolve their technology in order to properly fight against them. I don't know why you guys keep backing Warhammer 40k like it's this amazingly powerful thing. There's a lot of limitations here. If you're enjoying the video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. Join the membership, you get exclusive access to videos that no one else can watch, only members, only you. And don't forget to look down below at the pinned comment where there will be a link to the Discord as well as my second channel where you will see movie reviews, game reviews, whatever kind of bullshit talking things I want to do that aren't survival challenges. It's gonna be over there. It's just for people who just want to hear me fucking talk about other shit. That's where you go. Are you tired of this ad? So am I. Let's continue on to the video. Next up on the list we have Super Earth from Helldivers. And much like the Imperium of Man, Super Earth is gonna get super fucked up. Yeah, they're not winning this. So hi to the people who keep telling me that I always have Helldivers. I do not always have Helldivers win. That's a lie. They're losing right now. Having said that, Super Earth does have some things that the Imperium doesn't have that makes it so that they will do better against the Sentients than the Imperium will. Like having significantly better space travel, they can basically teleport between planets all across the galaxy because they literally fold space to travel from point A to point B. Basically, they have the junction shit that Warframe have, but it's built into every individual ship they have. For obvious reasons, it's gonna make it a lot easier for them to strategize and plan out where they're gonna go and where they're gonna hit and how they're gonna react to things. They can just get to places faster. It's a good benefit. Secondly, they have a lot more damage types than the Imperium has. Like, I would argue the Imperium has more weapons, but Super Earth has way more types of damage that their weapons do. It's not just explosive or fire or lightning or laser or dark fluid. It's a lot. It just keeps going. You get me? There's a lot of different types of damage, and because of that, it's going to take the Sentients longer to adapt to all of it than it would against the Imperium, who really only have like 5 or 6 different types of damage for the most part. Also, unlike the Imperium, Super Earth is really gun-ho about adapting technology, upgrading it, and overall just building up and improving their military. When you look over at the Imperium, the only subsection of the Imperium that's willing to actually adapt technology is the Adeptus Mechanicus, but they're kind of outcasted by the rest, and everything they do is considered a crime against God, and the rest of the Imperium doesn't want to use any of their inventions. They're just not going to be enough by themselves to possibly go after the Sentients with that improved technology. This is an issue that Super Earth isn't going to have. This is kind of like their main thing. Adapting technology is what's made them be able to take on the entire galaxy at the same time. However, that's kind of where all their advantages end, and it's not really going to help them. Their numbers are super huge, just like the Imperium of Man, and it's going to take a while for the Sentients to take them all on, and their weapons will work for a little bit until the Sentients adapt to it. But just like the Imperium of Man, the Sentients are just so much more powerful than Super Earth can ever hope to be. And their technology is so weird that I don't think Super Earth will be able to actually utilize it at all. I actually think the Adeptus Mechanicus can utilize a lot of Warframe's technology, because their technology isn't just science. I mean, it is science, but it's definitely kind of pseudo magic space bullshit. It's not really based on any real world science, and the ability to understand it is going to be based on that universe's ability to understand magical bullshit. While Helldivers is pretty loose with its science, and it's definitely considered pseudoscience, it's very clearly not magical space bullshit, and basically everything they do is based on some kind of form of science, even if it's loosely adapted. I don't see any evidence whatsoever that Super Earth is ever going to be able to understand Oro. The ability to completely ignore death and have the power over life and death, that's not fucking science. I 100% see Psychers and the Adeptus Mechanicus being able to understand a concept like that much easier than someone like Super Earth could. While I do think there's going to be some technology that Super Earth can get and adapt and understand and use against the Sentients, it's nothing that's going to be enough to turn the tide of a war of an army of beings who you can't kill and are going to continuously adapt to everything you do. And since the Sentients don't actually use void weapons at all, you can't even argue that Super Earth will get its hands on void weapons and be able to fight back in any real considerable way. And also, how exactly is Super Earth expected to adapt sentient technology? They could try to kill a sentient and then take it with them to go study it, but sentients not only can't die and will come back to life, but also, I should have said this earlier, they're a hive mind species. They're not like one hive mind species, they're like several pockets of different hive minds, but basically, if they want to take a sentient and go study them, all the other sentients are going to know about it. Now, while it's true their ships are a lot faster and they can travel to the other side of the galaxy and study as much as they want, and the sentients won't really be able to catch up to them, I think it would be a lot easier for the sentients to adapt Super Earth's fast travel technology rather than Super Earth adapting all the magical bullshit that sentients can do. I think sentients would benefit a lot more from studying their enemy than vice versa, basically is what I'm saying. At the end of the day, even if they could master all of their technology, again, they're not going to, but even if they could master things like their weapon technology and their adaptation technology, that would still only put them on par with the sentients, and the sentients would still be way more powerful physically. So yeah, this is another one where I just don't see Super Earth winning, like any possible way that they can win. Next up on our list, we have the Naytiba from Stellar Blade, and this one is interesting. On the surface, the Sentients and the Naytiba seem like very similar factions. They're both a highly adaptive hive mind species that's asexual and constantly evolves to overcome whatever challenges their species has to come face to face with. However, each one does have certain strengths that make it a little more complicated than just, you know, a stalemate or whatever. The main strengths, which I don't want to simplify, these are extremely good strengths to have over the Naytiba, is the fact that they are way more intelligent and they have space travel. But that's kind kind of it. Basically, in every single other category, the Naytiba is better. Their evolution abilities are way better. While the Sentients can evolve different resistances, the Naytiba can evolve literally any way they want to. This can be resistances just like the Sentients have, but it can also be like just completely new superpowers. There are Naytiba that grow to be the size of cities. There are Naytibas that can fire lightning from the sky. There's Naytibas that control people's minds. There's Naytibas that can survive in space or underwater or grow wings or have a really fast Wolverine-like regenerative factor. They all just constantly evolve whatever crazy powers they need to survive in the world that they are. They're also, on average, considerably more powerful than the Sentient, just in terms of just raw physical power. The absolute strongest of Naytiba are capable of fighting against Eve, who was able to one-shot a starship that was so big that when it landed on Earth, the top of it went over the clouds. This thing was fucking massive, and this bitch blasted into pieces with one shot. This happens about 70% of the way through the game before Eve is at her most powerful, and she has to take on the Elder Naytiba, who is stronger than the city-sized Naytiba, who I talked about previously. Also, the fact that Naytiba is kind of like the Sentients if they fused with the Flood from Halo, because they also have an infection ability where they can on contact transform people they fight against into other Naytiba. And you would think that, well, they'd be immune to this because the Sentients are immune to the Infested's infection. No, this is very, very different. The Infested have an infection that can control people, it can control machines and biological creatures, but the Naytiba can actually affect people on a molecular level and alter that molecular structures to be a Naytiba, even beings that are robots. Like, a Naytiba can touch a robot and turn that robot into a flesh, living, breathing being that then becomes a Naytiba. This is a level of molecular manipulation that the Sentients are not shown to be able to resist, given that the Void did something similar when it made them sterile. Now, you could say, well, that was the Void and they're weak to the Void and nothing else has been shown to be able to do that to them. That's true, but I would say that there's nothing in the Warframe universe that has that ability other than the Void. So there's also no evidence that they can resist it. I understand that it is within the Sentinel's biology to resist things and to adapt to resist things. But how is their biology going to resist something that is altering the molecular structure of their biology? They will no longer be the thing that they are. So how will they be able to resist it in any way? There's just not enough evidence in the series that the Sentients can resist something like this. And if the Naytiba starts coming into contact with them and starts making Sentients Naytiba, you'll now have fucking sentient Naytibas, which is pretty cool. But now to get back to the strength of the Sentients and to kind of go over why that's so important in this particular situation, the fact that the Sentients have space travel and are intelligent means that they get to control how this battle takes place, if it takes place at all. While there are intelligent Naytibas, most of them aren't, and all Naytibas are purely driven by instinct. Their entire evolutionary track follows the line of what will keep me alive the longest. This is why most Naytiba aren't intelligent, because most of them don't need intelligence to survive. Because of this, not only do they not have space travel, but they won't be getting space travel anytime soon. And if the Sentients are just hovering over some planet somewhere with Naytiba down on the surface, the Sentients can decide, how do we want to go about invading this place and going against these Naytiba? And they basically have an unlimited amount of time to come up with a solid plan, while the Naytiba are just chilling down on the surface of the planet waiting for them to do so, because they can't fucking do anything. As far as we're aware, none of them can just launch themselves into space and start fighting against fucking spaceships. Now, that doesn't mean the Sentients have an infinite amount of time to try and figure this shit out, because every second they don't go down and have to deal with the Naytiba are going to get more powerful. Again, that's how they work. They constantly evolve and get stronger. And they also reproduce at an insanely fast rate, considerably faster than that of the Sentients. While the Sentients do reproduce, and they can reproduce asexually, the thing that makes them so dangerous is the fact that they can't die, so their numbers never deplete. Not that they have a super fast reproductive system. The Naytiba actually have an insanely fast reproductive system. They make it very clear in the game that they cannot wipe out the Naytibas. Even when the androids outnumber the Naytibas during the war, they were basically driven to extinction because of just how fast the Naytiba reproduced and how they just kept having this ridiculous strength level increase again and again and again over time, and the androids just couldn't keep up with it. I think something similar would happen here, but again, the Sentients have the safe zone of just being able to go into space anytime they're getting into too much trouble. So this sounds like it might be an infinite war. Like, the only way that I can have the Sentients lose is if they just go down to the planet and just basically get themselves killed. If I give them any sort of rational thought processes, they won't be doing that. But I also don't think that there's anything they can do that would actually overcome the Naytibas. So it's kind of a stalemate. The only thing I can see of it not being a stalemate is if the Naytibas, one, take control of enough sentience that they can actually create space travel, and then it becomes a war in space, and the sentience won't be able to win against an army of sentients that are also Naytibas. Or if over time the Naytibas evolve enough so that they can just create their own spaceships by themselves, like they just develop the intelligence. But that will likely take decades, if not hundreds of years, for them to actually do if there's nothing down on the planet that's requiring them to build any sort of intelligence. So what exactly am I supposed to do here? Am I supposed to make the sentients fucking retarded and just have them go down to a planet where they'll be instantly obliterated? Or just have them wait up in space for their inevitable deaths? Because there's really nothing else they can do. Even if they firebomb the whole planet, or toxic the whole planet, or make some kind of weapon to just cover the entire planet to try and kill everything, all of the Naytiba down there are going to start adapting to it very quickly. And they are just going to make the Naytiba stronger. Remember, the game of Stellar Blade does not end with you wiping out the Naytiba. It ends, well, I mean, there's no reason to spoil it if I don't have to, but it doesn't end with them fucking getting wiped out, I can tell you that. There has to be some kind of middle ground. The smartest thing that the Sentients can do is just fucking pass that planet right up, just leave it. If you want to take over the whole solar system, go ahead, take it all over, but you leave that fucking planet alone and make sure nothing ever leaves it, and you're good. Otherwise, they're going to immediately get destroyed and controlled, and that won't be good for anybody. Again, the Naytibas do work off of instinct, and that instinct is mostly to reproduce and murder everything that's not a Naytiba. Yeah. Not good for anyone. Last up, but certainly not least, we have Ahzrak's Demon Horde from Doom the Dark Ages. Not gonna lie, not even gonna waste your time. This is the one where the Sentients lose. But it's not for the reasons you think it would be. This is not like a corruption situation. This is like a genuine war that they'll have to fight. Because, as I said before, there really isn't a whole lot of evidence that the Doom demonic corruption can possess AI or machine. They could fuck with gravity and physics and shit, but for some reason, AI and machines are never shown in this series to be corrupted. And especially in Doom the Dark Ages, where the corruption is way weaker than it is in Eternal, I just don't see something like that happening. Outside of that, the demons and the sentients are actually really similar. Like more so than Naytiba similar. Oh yes, the demons aren't an asexual hive mind, that's true. They are a group of constantly adapting immortals. I mean, that's not like common. That's a pretty unique thing. While I'm not gonna argue that Doom Demon's adaptation is anywhere near as good as the sentients, they're not. We do know that they can adapt. Like, for instance, the Fireborn Barons, being barons that lived in the hottest sections of hell, therefore they adapted fire powers. The Cursed Prowlers, being a group of prowlers who had cursed magic that they were taught from the moment of birth, then eventually just being born with cursed magic, just like in their body naturally. They very clearly do have some kind of adaptation abilities, although the game doesn't really explore how fast it is or how well it works. But the thing that's really going to make this interesting is that the demons are the first beings that we're putting on this list that can actually deal with the sentience Oro. The Naytiba found a way around it by like transforming the sentients and then becoming the sentients, basically turning them into Naytiba without actually having to deal with the Oro. In fact, you can argue that after the Naytiba turn the sentients into Naytiba, they will then acquire the Oro themselves, but they can't actually like get rid of it or deal with it in any way. The Doom Demons can. The Doom Demons are shown throughout the entire series being able to manipulate all sorts of bullshit magical energies from all across the multiverse. From Wraith energy to Maker energy to Demonic Essence to Sentinel energy to Chaos energy. Every single type of energy that they come across, which is all not normal energies, as they're all magical bullshit. Basically, all of them are just different variations of things like the Void and Tau energy. They're able to not just manipulate, but completely master and utilize for whatever purposes they want to. I mean, technically the demons are far more technologically advanced than the sentients are. I haven't really talked about the travel abilities. Now the Doom Demons can literally just teleport any way they want across the entire multiverse freely, which is obviously considerably better than the sentients' ability to travel just across one solar system, which they're pretty limited at. But none of that even really matters when you think about the fact that the demons can literally just rip the Oro out of the body of the sentients, and I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do that, because they can literally rip the souls out of people's bodies and control any form of energy they want. So Oro, which is basically like a synthetic energy soul, should be easily manipulated by the Doom Demons. The sentients don't really have anything that they can do against that, and they should actually be able to adapt to a lot of the stuff the demons can do. Like, I think that they would be able to adapt to hellfire, possibly even demonic energy. Who knows? Where I think that's going to stop is when you start getting to the chaos energy. Because in Doom the Dark Ages, Ahzrak makes a deal with the chaos realm and starts to utilize chaos energy, chaos magic, whatever you want to call it. And chaos energy is exactly that. It is the concept of chaos made into an energy source. In Doom the Dark Ages, we see chaos energy do everything from destroy the laws of physics to alter gravity, space, time, punch holes through reality, open holes through multiple universe. Like, there's all different kinds of crazy stuff it does. And I don't see any reasonable way the Sentients will be able to adapt to this, considering that it's not a persistent damage type. Like, what would it be adapting to? Adapting to ripping holes in reality? Okay, that's the first shot. Now the second shot is gonna like alter your personal gravity and fucking turn you into a inside out black hole thing. Like, it just does whatever it wants. So there's literally no way the Sentients can possibly evolve to all of it. And Ahzrak has access to all of the energies of the Chaos Realm. This means that the Doom Demons have a way of killing the Sentients, but the Sentients don't have a way of killing the Doom Demons. The Doom Demons are still immortal and will still come back no matter how many times you kill them, and their numbers are significantly more than the Sentients, and they have better travel as they can just teleport anywhere they want. I don't see a reasonable way the Sentients can win this. Like, at all. Also, you have the fact that I haven't really talked about yet, but the Doom Demons are just generally more powerful on an individual basis than the Sentients can ever dream to be. I mean, they've got titans and shit. They have beings that can take on whole planets individually. That's what fucking Dreadnought did before the start of the game. Ahzrak literally has demons under him that he can send down to a planet of sentients who can take on the entire army by themselves. And it's really questionable if the Sentients would even be capable of winning that. And even if they did, the fucking thing's gonna come back to life. So yeah, no, Doom wins this one. You know I use a lot of these factions often. Admittedly, probably way more times than I should have, but they are cool fucking factions. I mean, I could pick shittier factions. These are good factions. There's a reason why I keep going back to them. They're good ones. I'll find new ones, but if you're gonna stick to a list of like 15 factions, like I guess this is a pretty good 15. It's a good one. But that's gonna be all for me. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. Remember, join the membership. You get access to all kinds of cool, unique videos that nobody else can watch. It's just specially for you members, just for you, my gift to you. Hope you enjoy. And don't forget, down below in the pinned comment, there is a link to the Discord as well as my second channel where I put everything that's not a survival challenge, reviews for movies, game talks, whatever the fuck I feel like talking about or doing, that's gonna be over there. And always remember, y'all stay safe out there, you hear?